I'm Sam,
And I'm Samri.
and welcome to the Lines Between the Stars podcast. Today's topic, we're talking about feminism, buzzword,
Yay.
girl boss.
Because I posted a video on my Samri Bliss channel, YouTube channel, saying that I am a feminist and that Sam is also a feminist.
Yeah, and I was like, am I a feminist? Like, I'm not saying, like, I'm not looking at it like a bad thing or a good thing either way. I'm just like, oh, am I a feminist? I wasn't too sure about that. Because I feel like there's a lot of people with differing opinions on what feminism is and is not. And so, like, under what I thought, I was like, I don't really think I'm not, like, a feminist, but you consider me a feminist. So I thought that was interesting.
So how do you define feminist? Because you don't believe you're a feminist.
Yeah. I guess I always believed feminism as being someone who, like, fought for, like, women's rights a lot. I specifically, like, do not fight for like women's rights. Like, I treat women good. I treat women good, and that's what I do. But you consider me a feminist, so I want to know your definition of what a feminist is.
So from your definition,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be a feminist either, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Because I'm not like an activist or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's like I feel like that's the popular opinion, is like,
oh, really?
You see a feminist is more of like an activist. At least that's what I've seen. It's what, like, popular culture has, like, fed into my mind.
For me, so it seems like everyone has their own definition.
Yeah.
And there's also like the mainstream, or at least like in different sectors, at least I know in the Black women sector, when they say, oh, someone's a feminist, they're saying it in a derogatory way.
There's, like, I definitely hear like feminists used in, like, a derogatory manner sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, mostly, like, like woke warriors. There's definitely, like, sometimes you see, like, the extreme example where they're like, no, they want women to have superior rights than men. That's, like, another, like, sort of thing that pops up on occasion.
Okay.
Where, like, people who are, like, in that camp are like, oh man, other feminists aren't even feminists compared to us. Like, okay. There's feminist gatekeepers out there, who are like, my feminism is the feminism. And anything less than me is like, like, they're like copycats. Or they're, like, not feminist enough. You see that in, like, a lot of different things where you're just like, oh, that person, like, like, that person's not feminist enough, that person's not Asian enough, that person's not Black enough, something like that.
Yeah, definitely. There's always going to be people who want to control the narrative, and also people who want to be extreme just to be extreme.
Dick measuring is not limited to guys.
Yeah. So when it comes to feminism, there's different waves of feminism. For me, I see myself as a feminist because I believe that men and women are equal.
Yeah.
As far as, like, we should be treated by the state or by the government and by society equally, without oppressing any sex or gender.
Yeah. Because I know the one, like, argument, like, when we were talking about, like, like, women's rights, stuff like that, I think, like, the one argument I see, like, people, like, who are anti-feminism say is like, oh, what about the draft? You wouldn't want to be put into the draft, would you?
You know, that's what I keep hearing. And I'm like, if it comes down to, you know, in order for me to get paid the same amount as a man, if it means, oh, if he gets drafted, I will be drafted too,
well,
so be it.
Nowadays, it's not you who will be drafted. It will be like your daughter or your granddaughter.
I'm too old.
Yeah, you're too
We're
old.
too old.
We're too old.
But even if I was not too old, I don't think I'm too old. Like, there's still like people in their 30s who can join the military.
I think those are people who have been in the military and then do it. But like in terms of like joining, it's like different things. There are definitely different sectors of the military, you know. But like in terms of like the draft is more for like soldiers on the front line. That's what they mean by draft. Is
like they want to just like
they're actively like going to send you to your death.
Yeah. So there's also this philosophy that I started reading or like listening to this audiobook called Homo Deus, that talks about how war is, at least in the modern or like the developed nations, war is kind of like unthinkable.
Yeah.
Because it'll just be mutual destruction, like mutually. What is it called?
Mutual destruction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's why we had the Cold War, because they're like, oh, if one of us presses the button, then none of us.
Like
live.
half the world will be like. Blow off into space or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I mean, like, the likelihood of someone living in a Western world getting drafted for war is pretty low. In any case.
Yeah.
So
I
mean, like,
I remember being a young kid, when
you were scared of being
we were being drafted. Yeah, we were being scared we were being drafted to Iraq.
Oh, really?
You know. Heck,
okay.
There was the beginning of 2020. There was like potential World War III on the horizon. I knew a lot
with who?
With Iran. I think it was like Iran, because Trump had bombed one of their
leaders?
Yeah, Trump had bombed one of their leaders. And we like escaped all like tension with that because of COVID. Because of the panini. You know? Like, that stopped that, because no one wants to go to war with the panini going on. Because more people would die because of the panini than they would like actual war.
I feel... I don't think it's because of the panini.
I think it's because of the panini. Like, logistics wise, like, the panini caught, like, any, like, sickness spreads through your camps really fast if one person gets sick. Because everything about the military is cramped close quarters, right? If one person gets sick, everyone, like, this is like a thing in like war. If you like study war history, is that usually sickness and like disease is the number one death factor in any war, more than like bullets.
Yeah,
it's like sickness, it's infections and diseases. And so with like something that's as very contagious as, with the panini, no one was going to want to go to war in that situation. But yeah, I knew, like, people like Gen Zers.
Oh, really?
I knew Gen Z. I have Gen Zer friends.
Dang.
And I knew Gen Zers who were like scared, like, shit, are we gonna get drafted?
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, like, it was a very like concern for them. There you go. Like, especially when you're in draft range. Like, when you're in draft, like, we weren't in draft range during that time. But like, people who are in draft range, they hear things on the news like potential war going on, they get nervous, they're like, oh no, like, shit.
I don't watch TV.
It's not even like TV. So they're just like, you read news and you read like world going ons, and then like I just read comments online about like, during like, I would read comments online and people are like, I think it's r/teenagers, where it's like only teenagers are allowed to talk, and some of them were just like, are we going to get drafted into World War III? And it's like a concern, it's a legit concern. Like when like the U.S. is like, being like, oh, are we gonna go to war?
Yeah.
Like, are we gonna go to war?
I guess the U.S. is kind of like the police of the world.
Yeah. So like, and drafted people went to Korea, they went to Vietnam,
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's definitely a thing where it's like, oh, it's super scary in that circumstance.
Okay, so let's imagine that I'm within the draft range.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And for me to have equal rights as men, I would be willing to say, okay, me, like I myself, I'm willing to be drafted.
Okay.
Because for men, I feel it provided a lot of like networking and wealth building opportunities, at least for white men in America. After they got drafted and they survived, they weren't killed. They were able to build businesses back in the US. Right. They got the GI Bill. They got free education. The GI Bill helped with getting houses. Like a lot of families were able to be set in a better trajectory and enter the middle class.
So what you're saying is that she's willing to die for her beliefs.
If it comes down to it, yes.
That's strong. That's a strong vibe for me.
Yeah.
I was like, shit. How the heck can I get out of like this draft? Like I remember that being like, I remember being a young adult and being like, how do I get out of this draft? Yeah. Being in education actually is like one of the things that like prevents you from being drafted nowadays. It's like if you're like doing well enough in school, you don't get drafted.
Is that why you studied hard?
I mean, no, not really.
No.
I mean, I studied hard because I was in an Asian household.
Yeah, you. But yeah, I like I don't know what I would think if I had a daughter.
Yeah.
But I believe that, like for instance, like civil rights. They were willing to die for, a lot of people were willing to die for their beliefs.
Yeah.
Because they were believing for a better, a more equal society for their kids. Like they die, but their kids will have a better society. And we do have a better society because of their sacrifices.
Right.
And in the same way, if women also get drafted, women and girls also get drafted, I believe then men would have no excuse for being like, oh, this is why you don't get paid equal wages.
Yeah.
Because you don't get drafted. Like, that's a stupid...
It's a very stupid argument.
It is, but I keep reading it everywhere and I'm like, well then let's get drafted.
Let's get drafted.
Let's just do this
join on the excruciating, painful training,
exactly. And I think also joining the military gives you
options.
It gives you career growth.
Yeah.
It gives you options. It gives you something other than being pregnant. For a lot of girls, like especially if they're poor, they're their options are pretty limited, at least in their minds.
Yeah.
They would want to have kids even though they're not married, and even though it's going to be difficult for them. You're gonna say something, I feel.
Yeah. No. I just wanted to say in the comments, me and Sammy are not pro military for the most part. Like, we aren't like, you should join the military. Go, do that. Yeah. We're actually pretty anti-military.
Yeah. I'm a pretty pacifist person actually.
Yeah.
It's just if there's an argument that men who are freaking no courage, for me, men can be feminists too.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take that much. Just be a decent man.
Yeah.
So that's why I consider you a feminist.
All right.
Because you're not like, oh yeah, women should stay home and make me sandwiches, blah blah. There's a lot of men who say stuff like that.
And I'm also pretty in terms of just I guess I'm pretty progressive in terms of just like gender roles. Mm-hmm. For me, I don't think there should be gender roles. Mm-hmm. Like I enjoy a woman who like makes it a career and stuff like that. I also enjoy a guy who stays at home, like, you know, the idea of a guy who just stays at home, takes care of the family and kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's open to
my ideal thing is Samri making the big bucks and I get to stay at home, I get to like take care of the kids, I get to cook the meals, and I get to like do art on the side or something like that.
Yeah. He can be a nice house husband.
Yeah, I'm totally like 100% like guy wife material.
Yeah, he already cooks.
Like, yeah, I cook all the meals. You know,
dinner that he cooked.
Yeah.
So.
I cook and I work a full-time job. I'm doing like all the things.
Yeah. Doing it all, but yeah. So for feminism, yeah. So in general, it's like equal rights between the sexes.
Yeah.
And there's different waves. This article on humanrightscareers.com is talking about there being 4 waves. It's my first time reading about the 4th wave.
Oh, the 4th wave is the Me Too movement.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. So the first wave is basically it's the basic like women are not property. And they can vote.
Yeah.
But then it didn't include non-white women.
Right.
Second wave was in the 60s and 70s, and that's with the whole vote. So they got the voting rights by that point. Then there was the Equal Pay Act. And then the Roe versus Wade, which is the abortion.
Yeah.
Right, in 1973. And then the third wave is with more discussion about like intersectionality, you know, meaning like gender and race.
Yeah, and also I see in this article is like also like expressing sexuality, right? Like because before, like, you know, like if you showed an ankle, that was considered scandalous.
Yeah.
You were a floozy if you showed your ankle.
Yeah. And you know, different gender identities and sexualities in the 90s. And then the 4th wave, like Sam mentioned, is the, you know, after the Me Too movement and resurgence, and there's more attacks on women's rights because apparently in Texas women can't have abortions. So.
In Texas, if you were a virus, you have more rights than a woman.
Yeah, guns and viruses.
Guns and viruses have more rights than women do.
Guns and viruses.
I'm not even kidding.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure more states are gonna go forward with like regressive laws.
Policies, yeah.
And this also brings into focus the whole like the need for feminism and activism, because with the current generation, I feel like we're kind of stepping back from the rights that our mothers fought for.
Yeah.
We feel like, oh yeah, we're, you know, I feel pretty equal to, you know, my brother, blah blah.
Yeah.
So then and also because so I'm looking at it from a perspective of what I'm seeing with Black women online is there's this whole thing of Black women should be able to stay home.
Okay.
And enjoy the same quote-unquote privileges that white women enjoyed, which was staying home and taking care of kids. But then white women didn't like that. That's why they started the feminist movement.
Yeah, pretty much. Like that, they like had no right. Like, you know, they didn't have rights, and it's kind of like it's definitely the idea of like the grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
I mean, although I wouldn't say that Black women have ever had it easy.
Yeah, I would say, I want to say that, like, I think, I wouldn't say that activism isn't less. I think it's just changed, you know? Because, like, I mean, we were talking about, like, cancel culture and different topic, and you were like, when it's like, I'm so scared of being canceled. And it's like, well, and I'm just thinking, like, in some cases, some of these people getting canceled had every right to be canceled, right? Like, a lot of them were white men who did, like, disgusting things to women, and like, or like women coworkers, or other like women too, and then like women coming out and being like, yeah, like fuck, like, you know, like F this guy, and then people being like, yeah, F this guy, and that's where the cancel culture like kind of
the Me Too,
or yeah, that's where Me Too comes from, and like kind of cancel culture. And be real, even though like cancel culture is a thing that anyone has to deal with, like, one thing is like, oh, don't do anything that will get you canceled.
Yeah,
you know? Don't slap your butt, like, don't slap the butts of you know, like, your female coworkers. We're hitting a thing like in a lot of like video game companies too, where like it's been mostly like male dominant, where like you know, people are like calling out like CEOs of gaming companies, and like people are getting fired. There are government state level investigations on companies to like, he's like, hey, these guys need to be punished.
I thought they escaped.
No, they're still going on. This is still going on. People are getting fired. Like, their stocks are getting hit.
Oh, okay.
Like, investors are like, yo, that's messed up.
It started recently, right?
Yeah, it started like this year. And yeah, like, these investigations are still ongoing. The court cases are still ongoing because, you know, these court cases take a long time. You know? Courts are long and messy. And, like, these evidence are coming out, and people, and you know, they're going public, and so people are like reading it and they're getting angry. They get angry. They're like, yo, this is so disgusting, you know?
Yeah.
Like, especially like you have a woman who like committed suicide because of the actions of her boss, who who's like, oh, like, you'll be promoted if you do these sexual favors. You'll have women who like, they'll be in their pregnancy in like the feed, like, you know, like breastfeeding rooms, you know, and then like a guy popping into there and just staring, and just until like told like, get the hell out of here.
Oh God.
And then you have stories of the milk being stolen from their fridges.
Oh no!
Of those breastfeeding things. It's like, what the hell? People are stealing. People are stealing breast milk.
Drinking it.
Yeah, that's gross. And you think like these people shouldn't be canceled? You know.
So what Sam's talking about, like, it's in California, right?
Yeah, in California right now.
So
Blizzard,
a lot of game design companies?
No, Blizzard is like the main one being punched in the face right now, but it's like a lot of big old game companies, you know? And it's almost like there was a while that was where people were joking. It was like, okay, reset the clock every time that like something happens with Blizzard, like, you know, a new allegation, new like part of the story that comes out of how like their CEOs are scumbags. And then like, because it's all being revealed through this investigation. And like, now we're just saying, oh, the clock's just broke. The clock's just broke now. It's just at zero all the time because something new happens like every week almost.
Oh.
So yeah, like that's happening, and like, you know, like influencer, you know, there's social media influencers that get canceled. There, I've seen like a bunch of like, there's like, I've like followed YouTubers, and like some of them says like, oh, like one guy get like, you know, sometimes people do jump the gun, right? Because it's a lot of it. Sometimes it's like, he said, she said sort of thing, you know? And like, usually the people who like don't do anything usually just kind of just stay quiet, you know? They just stay quiet, they just do a blackout, they just let it go.
Yeah. It'll die out.
Yeah, if they feed the flame, then like you're gonna do it. But like sometimes like people but like when something new just keeps happening over and over and over again, right? Like especially, and that's what happens with like like with the Me Too movement, where you'll have like these like these guys up in like media, in like the media world, for example. It's not just video games, it's the media. It's like a lot of it's like the media world, like Hollywood, like news organization, like the news organizations, and like you have these people getting canceled because a lot of women are coming up and saying this guy is like not doing it. Like Bill Cosby is like a creeper because
he's out of prison by now.
And then like a bunch of women came out and just like, yo, F this guy.
Yeah. It's interesting because there's critiques of the Me Too movement, like by it's a comedian, black guy.
Of course, because he probably says questionable shit. Do
you know
Kevin Hart or?
Oh no, not Kevin Hart. Oh my gosh, what's his name? He had a Netflix special where a lot of people were complaining about his statements about the trans community.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I forgot his name. Anyways, put it down in the comments if you guys know.
Yeah.
But he made a critique of the Me Too movement, saying that if the women who are suddenly coming out with all these allegations, if women were serious enough, they would actually see changes other than people just getting canceled, like for temporary time periods.
Yeah.
Like he was saying that women should be willing to risk their jobs in order for other women to progress.
That's just saying, what that's saying? Jesus, like, that's saying, like, someone else should be Jesus, not me, though.
No, he was saying that he did the same thing.
Yeah.
He was willing to, because he had a TV network offer him, like, $50 million or something to do, because he had this show where he made fun of, he had a satirical show where he did a lot of like sketches about black people. Like he did a lot of like really like questionable stuff that's like at the edge of like and then he realized that the white people who were laughing at him. They weren't laughing with him. Like when he was like making fun of like crackheads or like baby mamas, like he did a lot of like really stereotypical stuff. And then a lot of black people think it kind of like regressed the culture because he was like,
he's like, oh, I'm black, I can make fun of it,
and but then he didn't realize that the reason why white people were laughing was because they wish they could say the same stuff.
But at the same time, that's once again, it's like, it's gatekeeping activism, right? It's like gatekeeping activism. That's like saying like you should be willing to die for this sort of thing too, And like it's kind of like you can't say that like them like canceling someone was like doing nothing would have been better, right? Would doing nothing would that have been like better than like anything else?
For him, no, it's not. Instead of like doing nothing, he wants them to
do more,
like
right?
Put their money where their wallet, like.
But at the same time, he's like rich.
Yeah, he is rich.
He's rich too. Like that's like definitely something that's also like in a place of privilege. It's like, yeah, you can like not take a $50 million deal. Yeah, because you have like $100 million in the bank. Like, you can find another deal that maybe makes $20 million or something like that. You're still like you're still rich.
Yeah.
That's like for him, it's like willing to lose your job means a different thing for different people, right? Like saying, for me willing to lose my job, that means I'm gonna live like a comfortable life for like a year or so as I try to find another job. For someone else, them losing their job is they don't eat for a month, right?
Yeah, and it's also them risking their reputations.
Yeah.
Especially for women in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, like that. It's hard for
your
people.
Reputation is
your
everything.
reputation is everything.
Yeah, because if one man like Harvey Weinstein, if he doesn't like a woman because she didn't like sleep with him or whatever, because I think that's what he was like asking women to do.
Yeah.
In order to go into to be movie stars.
Yeah.
So according to this comedian, women should have been willing to be like, no, F this.
Yeah.
Like,
because like here's the thing, cancel culture definitely works on like people who aren't rich and like have like media franchises backing them. Like in terms of like YouTubers and stuff like that, or like streamers, a lot of streamers who get canceled and then they pretty much get obliterated on the internet. They have to like rebrand, like, they may or may not have to like just rebrand completely or something like that.
Oh, rebuild their subscribers.
Yeah, rebuild their subscribers and stuff like that, and like it's like being. And I think people saying that like, oh, cancel culture doesn't work against these like rich conglomerates, that's more saying something bad, that's like the rich conglomerates might be too powerful, rather than saying that like people aren't doing enough.
I think the Me Too movement has been pretty effective.
I think it's been pretty effective, all things considering. You know? If someone's saying like, no, the Me Too movement's not effective enough, it's just like, it's been doing something. It's making dents. It's just that like these giant megacorps or people backed by like the giant megacorps, they're just really big. Like Bill Cosby, he got out not because like the Me Too movement wasn't strong enough, it's just that he's just fucking rich.
Yeah.
Right? He's just super rich.
Yeah, he's super rich, and he's
super rich. He can pay for like a really good lawyer. That's like the thing. Like, other than like assassinating Bill Cosby, I mean, like what else can you do as like a normal human being?
Yeah.
Like like an average human being with like not as much monetary power, right?
Yeah. At least he's losing out some amount of money.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like canceling someone like gets like the community to be like, oh, that guy sucks. I'm not gonna buy any of his stuff or like consume any of his media.
Yeah.
And like I think that's where it's coming out. You know what? That comedian who's doing it, he's probably sweating about the cancel culture because he's like, oh shit, if I say something wrong, then my profits.
Oh no, he's not.
I know.
He's all about getting canceled.
Yeah, but he's like it was like in the past, it's like, oh, getting canceled and like getting more money out of it. But then now he's like getting canceled and making less money out of it.
You think?
I think that it might be a little bit serious, and that's why he's trying to like downplay it. He's like trying to downplay it. That's just my like guess. This is my psychoanalyst.
I feel sort of he's also kind of like the messiah for men who are scared of getting canceled.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're like, oh, just look at him. He's black.
Yeah,
and
he's like dunking on he's dunking on trans white community.
Trans.
Yeah, he's dunking on.
Well, because he was claiming that they're punching down on him. Yeah. That even if they're trans, wait, is that a derogatory term to say trans? Trans people?
It's fine.
Trans individuals.
Yeah.
He was claiming that they're punching down on him because their whiteness trumps their other marginalized identity.
He's like completely like leaving out like there's black trans individuals out there too, but Asian trans.
For him,
they're all only
trans. Yeah. And he thinks that their agenda is to like oppress the black man. Yeah. Like it's all about like protecting black men. Like there's
it's all about like protecting their own toxic masculinity.
Exactly. Like, and and he was saying how basically he's angry that even though he's a rich black man, his riches and his fame that won't protect him from the police.
Yeah.
Who, you know, it won't protect him from the individuals who called the police on him.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the reason why he made that whole freaking comedy special. That's basically it.
And yeah, it's like I haven't actually seen it.
Yeah.
Also
because you don't want to.
I don't really want to, and like I'll be real, like I have a lot of friends who are part of like the trans community, LGBTQ. I have a lot of LGBTQ friends, so like I feel it's kind of like I can't eat at Chick-fil-A because I got a lot of LGBTQ friends who are like, and I'm like, yeah, I'll join in on you. I'll not that like I would like go out of my way to watch these things or like eat there anyways. I don't eat fast food.
Yeah.
But yeah, like also like like when you boycott, like another thing too about because people join in on I do know that there are people who join in on cancel culture and then like not follow through on like boycotting anything.
They don't actually do it.
Yeah, like because there are a lot of people who are like, oh, we're gonna boycott Blizzard games, and then they're like, yeah, I deleted my account, and then you see like Blizzard releases a new thing, and then the guy calls up, it's like, so I deleted my account. Can I get that back? So like just like you gotta follow through on like the boycott, right? Like there was one of my favorite manga artists growing up got caught with child porn, had like a kind of bit of like canceled too, but he kind of got, he only got hit with like a slap on the wrist because of weird Japanese laws. But I boycotted his stuff. I still boycott his stuff. He's got a really like there's actually a good live action movie I hear based off of his anime that I have not watched yet because the guy I don't want to support that guy.
You're holding off.
I'm like shit. Like all of his I was in the process of like going to like collect his stuff because I really liked his manga, and I'm like, well, no, I'm not going to do that because it's like cuz I can't support it.
Is there another creepy guy?
There's not another, just him.
Another creepy manga artist.
Oh yeah, there was one. There was one. It was the artist for Actage. It was really good. Except when he got canceled, his manga got canceled too.
Was it because he's not as established?
I think it's probably it was rising up. Like his series was like up and coming. It was doing really well.
Yeah.
But he was also not as established. But like at the same time, I think he actually got arrested though. And because his actions was actually physical. The other manga artist just was caught with like porn, but he didn't have any acts. There weren't any like children in the basement or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
this trigger
other guy,
warning.
Yeah,
guys.
Sorry, trigger warnings. Yeah. The other guy actually would like ride his bike, grope young girls, and then ride his bike away. And they had like video footage of proof of that, so that's why he got a harsher sentence, I think. Just because of how like Japanese law works, I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, like it's just kind of like. Yeah, when someone does something that you're like not cool with, like there's always a thing of like people think, oh, separate the creator from the work, but then like you look at it, you're like, ooh, that's kind of you see things that like make you enjoy the work less.
Yeah. And there's that aspect in the black community too. With, have you heard of R. Kelly?
Yeah, I've heard of R. Kelly.
Yeah. Like there's still people who are like.
There's a Boondocks episode on R. Kelly.
Yeah. I mean that episode was like years before he actually got whatever
a sentencing.
Yeah, I don't know if he's actually free or in prison.
Yeah, but they like hit it on point.
Yeah, because
Because you saw your YouTube videos of people like dancing to R. Kelly music outside the courthouse.
Well, because I mean I haven't watched anything, but what I heard was there's a lot of black people who still support him.
Yeah.
Even after they know that.
Yeah.
And it's really disturbing.
It is very disturbing.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
I'm more upset and disturbed by the actions of people who, after learning about what someone did, and still be like, oh, he's a black man, I'll support him.
Yeah. You know what? Also, like, I remember your brother giving you advice, and like, oh, be careful you're not canceled. And just thinking him is like, he would say stuff that would get him canceled 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because, and it's like, you know, and here's the thing, when people who say that it's like, they're like, oh, it's so hard to say things and not get canceled on, they're like scared of being canceled. If you're scared of being canceled, you gotta like look at yourself and like probably reconsider things. If you're scared of being canceled, what are you doing that you're so scared that you're gonna get canceled of?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, for me, I'm not scared of being canceled.
Yeah.
Like, if I say something, it's because I have thought of.
Yeah.
I have thought about it for a while, and I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe like you say something...
Maybe in the future I'll be cancelled, I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe you say something wrong out of ignorance. Because sometimes someone just makes an ignorant opinion. But that's what apology videos are for. You know? That's what, like, here's the thing. You can apologize for your actions.
Yeah.
You know,
hopefully it'll be sincere.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll be sincere. Maybe you do some, and you know, like say you do get canceled. Say you're canceled because you just didn't know, right? Like maybe I say the N-word with a hard R because I didn't know the difference between the hard R and an A. You know.
I mean, I don't think
it'd be working.
People would not know.
Yeah, but that's like that's the example. That's the example, because like people like, you know, sometimes they'll be like, oh, I used the wrong pronoun. Like they use the wrong pronouns for someone individual.
And they get canceled.
But they didn't know. But you know, in a lot of cases, like, oh yeah, they didn't know, and like maybe they use that time of being canceled to like, you know, maybe do some research. Maybe like look into like what they did was wrong and like learn from it. And
so
then you're like,
do you think that is sort of extreme though on the part of the mob, the cancel mob?
Yeah, I think the
like
cancel
the
mob. I think
thing?
I think the cancel mob can get like pretty like crazy. People are like sometimes. I mean, it's like the white knight sort of thing that happens on the internet, right?
What's
like
that?
Social justice warriors and stuff like that, where people are like you know, woke activism, right? That's like the same people that like same type of thing that the people like are that same type of people who did like SJW warriors and woke activism. They're also attracted to like joining in the mob of a cancel.
Of course.
Cancel thing, because it's
like they're the main ones.
Because it's like, but you know. You can also just You can also just like apologize. Like I may have been ignorant, and that I was ignorant in that sort of thing. I'm kind of learning different things now. You know, stuff like that. Like if you're sincere, you won't get canceled. Like if you're sincere and you get canceled, you'll come back. You'll bounce back.
Yeah, the critique of that sort of like, you know, that level of cancel culture is that. It's kind of becoming, like, there can't be any dissenting voice.
Yeah.
People are scared of expressing their opinions.
Yeah.
Because they're afraid of being canceled, because reputations are sort of, you know, especially in the age of technology where, you know, people can screen cap what you said and then 10 years later you lose your job.
But hey, you know, it's like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do blackface, even if everyone else was doing it at the time. You know, at the time. Hey, maybe it's like your actions have consequences. Your actions have consequences. Because a lot of what happens is that like it's like these people have been doing things for so long that like they're like, you think that they're free of their consequences, right? Like. Yeah, there's stuff like things you say as like a teenager that you think is dumb, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like I feel like that doesn't like last as long as compared to like maybe someone like say like a 70-year-old guy who did things in his 40s like that like involved like getting a bunch of like women pregnant women pregnant and stuff like that and ruined those people's lives. Those are on a different level, you know. Like, I think cancel culture gets lumped all as the same thing, but they're tiers.
There's tiers of cancel.
Yeah, there's like YouTuber who says wrong thing canceled, and then there's guy who gets canceled because he like sexually abused multiple women, right? And not to say that like, you know, like you can't be a small YouTuber and like also like abuse other people too. There's also some of that as well, you know.
The thing with even for like a YouTuber who, you know, like the sometimes lower level tier.
Yeah, but you know, YouTubers
they still get destroyed though.
Yeah, because YouTubers are like built on like the community that they make.
Yeah.
Online, and then like if the community destroys them because of their actions, like you know, there's people who take advantage of their parasocial relationship with like their viewers, right?
Yeah, parasocial relationships are pretty scary.
Yeah.
I try to keep a boundary, maintain a boundary with my subscribers. Like, I don't want to be like, you know, every Thursday I'm going to, you know, release a video. Because that turns into a job. That turns into expectations from strangers that I will do something every week. You know, stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I mean,
I think that's like as like a content creator though, like
it's kind of needed.
It's kind of needed because just like, you know, consistency and like the people who do well are the people who do sort of things like that. There are people who don't, like they make a video once in a while, but those are like people who like make explosive content. They make content that like really blows up in like views, and then like they'll have like a bunch of views. Like you'll see this on YouTube if you look on like certain like really popular videos. They'll have the one video that has millions and millions of like views and like likes and stuff, and the rest of their videos have like 100 or like 1,000 or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like if you and like it's like consistency, you know, it's like consistency, right?
I suppose.
Yeah. It's like, and
it'll remind your subscribers that you still exist.
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly. Like people remind them that you exist, and like also like hey, like it really depends. It really depends. Like we could talk forever about like content creation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have different like viewpoints on like content creation. This like podcast is pretty much like our like merger of our two thought processes. You know.
Yeah. We're learning a lot about each other, actually.
Yeah, we learn a lot about each other and how like our minds work, right?
Yeah, because after we finish with this podcast, pretty soon, we're going to talk about Cowboy Bebop, the live action version, the show, and Sam is more into chronological storytelling. While I go everywhere, like I just zoom out and I'm like, oh, what are the patterns? What's the secret message that the writers are trying to tell us? And I make like weird connections with like other sectors of my life, but then I get really tired.
Yeah, I get really more focused on like the actual like piece itself.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good place to end. So
like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, see you later. Bye.